I got mail. It was a great day in court today. So let's answer a couple questions. Greetings, everybody. Criminal defense attorney Keith Stickley here. My goodness, was it a crazy good day today in court. We just wrapped up a long day. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more comfortable. We're going to get into a couple of things, some questions that have been popping up on the channel here, and I figured I'm in a good mood. I'm over here in the Detroit office today. We had a great day, so let's get into these questions and talk about why today was fun and what happened. You know, today was one of my absolute favorite things about becoming a criminal defense attorney, and that is today we had a successful expungement. Now, the process of expungement in Michigan is very interesting. It actually allows somebody who's been convicted of what used to be only one felony, now it's a couple felonies and some misdemeanors, to actually ask the court to have their felony record completely set aside so that they are no longer a felon. Now, there are some limitations to this, of course. There's certain kinds of crimes that you absolutely cannot wipe away. Some of the assaultive crimes and criminal sexual conduct crimes in particular. However, certain crimes in certain scenarios like larceny, etc., actually qualify for this. Now, our client today was actually he was an immigrant. He came over as a kid from the former Soviet Union, and he made a kind of a goofy mistake. He was a kid. He was young. He had never seen all the crazy abundance things that were everywhere, and he got busted shoplifting a wireless phone, actually, from a Kmart. Now, I'm not talking a cell phone or anything. I'm talking the actual cordless phone you plug into the wall and that kind of thing works. Anyway, whatever. The guy has become sort of the quintessential American success story, the American dream story. Beautiful family, great job, professional, technical guy. Never has had a speeding ticket since. And this is the exact kind of thing that this statute was meant to help out. He gets to clean up his record from decades and decades ago. Interestingly enough, I don't think that if somebody committed the same offense the way that it happened today, they probably wouldn't have even ended up in a conviction, to be totally honest with you. There's some circumstances, but regardless, we were able to help this guy out. He doesn't have to live with the shame of being a felon for a really dumb mistake he made as a kid. And man, it just makes you feel good because this is a guy who we quite frankly, we need more people who are productive in society like this. And the judge even said so on the record. And it was just cool. And it was really cool, too, to hear the gentleman's testimony on the record of what America meant to him and freedom meant to him and how he's learned and evolved over the years. And how he really just kind of made it his life's mission, really, to be productive and sort of spread that positivity and that sense of freedom and pride and to not take things for granted because, you know, where he comes from, they don't have the things like we have. So it was super, super cool. Pretty much everybody. It was a virtual hearing. It wasn't very long, but people were on the verge of getting kind of choked up, to be honest with you. So it was a real good thing. You know, when you can help somebody get past a bad situation in their life and really see that they do well, man, it feels good. It's the ultimate. It's awesome. Let's get into a couple of questions because you guys have been asking some really cool stuff. Funny stuff. I got three questions in particular. One actually pertained to expungement, which is why I kind of wanted to wrote this little segment in, and why are expungements important and how do they work? Well, in Michigan, they're important because, just like I said, it allows certain people who really should have a second chance at things to redeem themselves. You know, sometimes people with a felony on their record have a hard time, you know, even renting an apartment or whatever. And sometimes there are some mitigating circumstances, and people really do change. Never underestimate the power of redemption. It's a powerful thing. And so in certain circumstances, I think it's great. Michigan's recently made some changes to the whole expungement scheme, and has expanded eligibility. In fact, I was just studying. It looks like in Michigan, I don't know exactly how I feel about this or if it's going to be controversial or not. But come February, Michigan is going to start a scheme where certain people with certain drinking and driving offenses can actually get expungements and clear up their driving record, which has never been possible before. Driving record things have always stuck to the record for forever. So we'll see how that goes. If that's the situation you're in Michigan, give my office a call and maybe we'll be able to figure this out together. But I think there's some really interesting developments that are about to happen in that whole realm of the law. Another question that came across that was really great: how do lawyers choose which defense? And this gentleman referred to the Twinkie defense. Is there a team that goes through old case law? Well, that's a really interesting question. There. I wish defense attorneys could have just sort of like a mega brain trust that we could go to and research stuff all day. Everybody has a little bit of a different process, but it comes down to a couple things. Number one, every trial, if you're going to go to an actual trial, there are a set of parameters, usually jury instructions, and the prosecutor has the burden to meet all of the points of those jury instructions. And if they can't meet those points, then the jury is supposed to find a verdict of not guilty. So that kind of gives you your roadmap of the burden of proof. What does the prosecutor have to prove to actually score a conviction on that? So yes, there. In conjunction with that, there's certain legal databases. In the old days, when I went to law school, which was not that long ago, this is my third career. I'm in a lot of circles. I'm still considered a baby lawyer, even though I look like I'm 60, whatever. Used to have to actually go to law books, law stacks, which are, a lot of older attorneys have these stacks of these volumes, behind them in their office, so they look very important, and those books were really important. It was a pretty big deal to be able to have a full law library in your office that you could just go to, and they sent out updates regularly. Now there's a bunch of online services and search engines, similar to Google. They tend to be really expensive, although if you're a member of the bar, you get certain access to certain things. And with today's digital world, it's a lot easier to search for certain keywords if there's case law, and then basically, you're trying to find similar case law on point that has to do with yours, and in certain circumstances, especially in pre-trial practice, before you get to the actual trial, that's where this research can really come in handy, because a lot of times, a defense attorney will be motioning the judge to not allow a prosecutor to share a certain kind of evidence or something. And a judge will ask the prosecutor and the defense attorney to brief brief the issue so they can figure out how they're going to argue it. And that basically is where the prosecutor and the defense attorney go back to their research and, for lack of a better term, do a grown-up style book report and write convincingly of why they think that their side on this issue is correct, and that's how that kind of works. They'll also sometimes orally argue it in front of the judge as well, so that's pretty common. So that's how most of the legal research works today. On some of the smaller misdemeanor cases, it's kind of obvious. We deal with this stuff all the time. We sort of know what the elements are. But anytime you're going to a trial, both sides of the equation, absolutely. I would think that the number one thing is they go to the jury instructions and see what exactly the burden is going to be. And we have online resources to do that. So that's basically how that works. And let's hit up we'll hit up the one more question here tonight before I take off, get out of here, and go home and get some soup. Still a little bit in recovery mode here. Man, really rocking the 5 o'clock shadow today, too. Why are plea bargains offered? It seems like, the courts are lenient. Why don't they take a harder stance? Well, quite frankly, there's many different reasons that plea bargains are offered. First and foremost, the nuts and bolts of it are having a trial is expensive. It takes a lot of time, and obviously, time equals money, and the prosecutor's dealing with the taxpayers' money, and you don't want every single thing, to go to trial. So it's an incentive, right? It's an incentive. A lot of times, also, and this might be controversial in some circles, but it is what it is. Prosecutors often, I would say more often than not, charge maybe the absolute maximum amount of things that they can charge, sometimes without knowing, or sometimes knowing that they probably can't convict a client on every single one of those things. But there might be a lesser charge that's sort of a slam dunk. So if the prosecutor charges the higher charge, then a lot of times they know that there can be a reduction. A lot of times in the misdemeanor world, there's not a whole heck of a lot of difference in sentencing between what might be a higher and a lower charge. So it's a little bit inconsequential, but Yeah, the whole plea bargain process, it's so case by case that it's really it's hard to just put a exact why they do this, that, or the other. The majority of the cases I deal with now in Southwest Michigan, actually all over Michigan, are drug based, and there are sentencing enhancements if you get caught with drugs, possession of meth, for instance, more than once. You can get like a second offense, or if you have multiple felonies, sometimes you hear the word habitual. I should probably make videos on what is habitual, what is second offense, and how do they affect your potential sentences. But if the goal is if somebody's on drugs and the goal is to get them off of drugs, I often say, and you're going to hear me probably repeat it like a broken record, in this kind of crime, the defendant is also the victim, right? They're guilty of taking drugs and harming their own body. So, what does just locking them in a cage do? Like, nothing. We've already lost a war. If you ask me, unfortunately, we've lost a war on drugs. I think we're trying to figure out what the next way to handle some of these issues are. But sort of the traditional method isn't obviously working. By the way, it's hilarious to me, when I say hilarious, I use that term sarcastically because it's really not funny. Possession of methamphetamine is a 10-year felony in Michigan. The legislature sets the scheme up. It's a 10-year felony. Fentanyl, right, which is the current scourge, which is just killing people, making them drop like fleas, right? Fentanyl is only I believe, 2-year, or is it a 4-year? I think it's only a 2-year. That blows my mind. If you got cocaine, it's only a 4-year. These are kind of arbitrary things. But there's a misdemeanor charge called use of a controlled substance as opposed to possession, and that's only a misdemeanor. That's a 1-year misdemeanor, and that covers a broad spectrum of things. So, a lot of times in the drug world, there's a huge incentive for people, I think, and I think that there should be a huge incentive, to not constantly go for that felony. Make a deal if they're going to go to treatment, if they're going to try to help themselves, to at least go for the use, because it's a misdemeanor and it can really help their life. So, guys, it's after 5 o'clock. We jumped on here, and I need to get home to the family, have some dinner. Do me a favor, like and subscribe to my channel. Let your friends know that we got a channel out here that they can subscribe to and like as well. It's always a real pleasure to get to spend a little bit of time with you. I hope you all do it well, staying safe, staying healthy, and we'll talk to you real soon. Take care.